So I'm here to talk about advertising and the various effects it has on our brain. So advertising has been around for a really long time, longer than you might think. So even, well, not cavemen I guess, but since there were rock paintings, we know that there's been advertising. And I mean, it's not like buy this or buy that, it's just advocating something and like saying look at this and look at that. So it's been around for a really long time, and it took a turn when Egypt, invented paper, then it was on paper. But like the first advertising agency didn't start till like the 18th century, I think, or the 1800s. But now there's advertising everywhere, and even though it might be a little different, like billboards or on the internet or the TV or anywhere else, what's the basic message is that it's everywhere, and it's always like people are always trying to get us to buy something today or tell us about themselves or promote their product and make it seem better than other products that might do the same thing. So is it a bad thing? No, I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just saying that it might do more to us than we're aware of. So, I mean, the word advertising comes from the Latin word advertere, which means to turn towards or take note of. And that doesn't sound negative at all. So, I mean, it helps a lot of people. It like fuels the economy, and it gives people information, and it's a really integral part of the modern world. And so, but what are they really doing? And I'm sure everybody has heard of this theory of Adam Smith's, who is an important economist. And it's basically that he said that we should allow the economy to function on its own so that it could rise and fall according to itself, and it would benefit itself if it was just left alone. And so, but what I want to know is it actually being left alone today? And are the advertising monopolies controlling what happens to it? So most advertisements, like let's talk about how they're made. So they're usually made with the 3 appeals, and this is basically the one common thing that they all have is that they use this method to try to sell their product, because that's what they're all doing. They're all trying to make other people believe in what they're saying. So if we look at these 3, first let's look at logos. And that's basically a logical way of presenting your argument, which makes people who think rationally believe that this is the right thing and that this is what we should do. And another way is pathos, which is an emotional appeal. And this is also really effective. I mean, it pulls at the heartstrings of people and makes them really want to believe in it and really, buy it or believe like this one is for anti-smoking. And I think that's a pretty convincing advertisement. And then there's ethos, which is when you use somebody who has a great high standing in society and use them to advocate for your product, and that makes it more reliable and attractive. So to make this theme clear, I'm just going to show a short clip of an advertisement that uses all 3 of them. And this is an old advertisement, so I mean you're free to laugh, but Chiquita Banana was like an invented advertising technique in the 20s to encourage the United World Fruit Company's products from South America. And well, she's kind of based on this actress called Carmen Miranda, and she was a famous actress from South America. So using her kind of gave it credibility, and well, the logical part, well, it was like chock full of information about bananas and how they're good for you and from the equator, and yeah, and she was also like one of those people who started at the bottom and went straight to the top, so that kind of made people relate to her better. So using her worked really well for that company because people wanted to buy that stuff more. So it doesn't really sound like a negative thing so far, advertising. I mean, all they're doing is making their product look attractive in any way that they can and encouraging us to buy it. So let's look at advertising techniques. So this is what people go to school for to learn, and there's an article by a person called Saberi Roy, and it's called Reflections in Psychology, and that outlines about 6 different techniques that they teach marketing students. And if we trace them carefully, they might sound a little unethical. So yeah, the first is reciprocity, and this kind of makes the consumer feel really comfortable with the seller, because then it feels like they're kind of making a agreement, or they feel like they're making a pact, like they're getting something in return for contributing to the selling of this product. So this always encourages people. It's like, if you do this, then we'll do this for you. So that's one of the techniques. And the next is scarcity. And even though it might not seem that it influences us much, but when we learn that something is going to run out, we really want to go get it, to be one of the few people who exclusively have that product, because it's going to go away soon. So if we have it, it's really exciting. And the third is commitment. This is kind of like a technique that not many people are aware of. Like the first two, most consumers know that that's happening, and they still do it. But this is kind of like more sly. Like when you commit time or effort towards a product, like initially, you're more likely to do it again. So if people who are trying to sell something to you, they come and get you to fill out a form or have you write something to them or a survey, then you're more likely to be manipulated into buying their product later. Like there's actually a case study about some charity which got people to wear their pin for a week, and then later they came to get donations, and the people who wore the pin for a week were more likely to give donations than the people who didn't. So even by reading an ad, you're investing time, so you're more likely to actually get that product. Fourth is consensus. So this is a technique that we are aware of. It's like the get on the bandwagon technique. It's like everybody's doing it, and so should you, because obviously it's the right thing to do if everybody's doing it, but that often leads to that. So that's not, does that seem smart to you? But I know we might laugh at it now, but that's actually really convincing. Just to know that somebody's doing it makes you want to do it also. And another technique is authority, which is kind of like the ethos that we just talked about. So because Hrithik Roshan is advocating for this, it must be cool, indeed. And another one is greed. Well, this is kind of a woozy topic, because what they try to do is they try to, this is mostly for investments in new businesses that are coming up. So if you buy the share of a company, then you get part of its money. So when they present it to you in a really good way, like the stock market and stuff, so if you give us this much, then you will get this much. And most people don't realize the whole probability and statistics, and they just okay, if I give you this much money, I'm going to get back this much. So that's a really effective one also, because human beings are greedy by nature. So, yep. So after looking at all this, I don't think advertising still looks as good and, neutral as it did when we just analyzed the 3 appeals. So, but what I really want to focus on is what it does to our brain. So our brains can be conditioned pretty easily, and habits develop, hobbies, and what behavioral, it just develops, and then it just stays in a rut like how it's been made. So actually studies about advertising and the psychological effects of it haven't happened until recently. So this is the second person who was actually talked about. The first was Harlow Gale, but Walter Dill Scott actually took information from him, and he's written this book called The Theory of Advertising, and he breaks it down into 3 categories, which is attention, information, and persuasion. So let's take an example. I have a lot of examples from USA. That's because they have the first companies and stuff. So Ivory Soap, its identity that made people pay attention to it was the fact that it floated. and no other soap then could float. So it was really exciting for people. And then the information it provided, like most of its pamphlets look like this, with chock full of information about how it was like amazing and good for you and doctor prescribed. And the persuasion part was this, that babies use it like the Chiquita banana videos. If it's good for babies, it must be good for you. And it gives you the ivory look. So another psychologist who talked about this was John Kenneth Galbraith. And he said that advertising creates desires just so it can fulfill them. And actually, this is a really interesting one because I know most people here can relate to this, because sometimes you see something and you don't realize that you could use it till you actually see it. Like at the shop below Cal Science, there's this thing that looks like a banana, and it's a banana slicer, and it's just like yellow with like lines through it. And I mean, who would have thought that you need something to slice bananas? You could just use a knife. But then when you look at that, you're like, oh, wouldn't that be easy? You can just push the banana through it and come out sliced. So this is pretty true. And another big article by Dr. Max Sutherman called Brands on Brain talks about what part of the brain exactly that advertising affects. And it's the parietal lobe, which is like the intelligence center, and it focuses on like your cultural recognition, emotions, and like habits and everything. So there's actually proof about the whole how advertising affects you. So what happened was this guy called Steve Connor, he's a science like editor, but he took a report on this survey that happened, which was to see if Coca-Cola or Pepsi was better, because I mean obviously people have been arguing that for a long time. And what happened was that when they gave the people, because the color is really same, so they gave it to them without the logos, and people didn't show any like preference towards one side. But once they showed the Coca-Cola label, more than like half of people prefer the Coke, and that's because like they noticed that when the Coca-Cola was showed, that it was evoking places in the like memories and self-image like area of the brain, which is the parietal cortex. And I mean, what conclusion they came to for that is because Coca-Cola has been around a lot longer than Pepsi, like you can see. So people have had a lot of time to identify with the logo. And so when they see the logo, they feel differently. And so in that, the Coca-Cola was like winning. So why is this like important? Why should we be aware of this? Well, that's kind of like asking why we should be educated. So like we've already heard from a lot of other people, we need to be educated so we can make wiser decisions and go further in life just for us, not for like other people. So what's comforting is that now they teach in school about neuromarketing and marketing techniques and awareness to little kids, and it's good because that's when they're developing their critical thinking skills. And actually there's this article in the New York Times that talks about this, and it's by Stuart Elliott, and he talks about how we need, like, about this website actually, and you guys should go on here if you want. There's a really simple game you can play to learn if that you've allowed advertising to manipulate you or take over your brain. And well, there's actually a Bureau of Consumer Protection of the Federal Trade Commission in America, and they also have commented on this website, and they feel that it's really effective to like 4th to 6th graders, which is who this website is targeting, because right then they're at the stage where they're developing the critical skills, and they're the people who are going to go out into the world and, like work and live there. So, I mean, what the whole thing is saying is that we need to be aware. So if we don't know that all this is happening to us, I mean, we might feel that we're pretty smart, and we might not realize that subconsciously we're being affected by what all is happening, and that we could change and like step out of the rut if we actually just step back and thought about what's being presented to us. So don't let yourself get brainwashed by the monopolies. And yeah, again, returning to the invisible hand, think about if we are allowing it to be invisible or if it's being guided by the monopolies, and if that's good or bad. So yeah, thank you.